refugees, and this statement would be really powerful coming from you, Peter, but I would like a statement from each of the candidates that says that there will be no more new coal mines, that we can adopt existing technology, do something real about climate change by not burning fossil fuels, because it's the refugees and the poorest people on the planet that will suffer first, right? And they will suffer hardest, and then there will be climate refugees everywhere. And we can talk about 5,000 here, processing in 90 days there, whatever, right? But the main thing is you need to do something very, very important about climate change immediately, and foreign policy, sure, let's start looking after people in other countries. Let's make refugees not such a big issue. But the main thing is we're going to get climate refugees coming from everywhere. So is New Zealand, so is every other safe haven, and there's only a few left. And I would like to hear a statement from each of the refugees, each of the candidates, because we'll all be refugees one day, from each of the candidates saying that there'll be no more new coal mines, especially a ton.
Thank you so much for that question. So we're going to start.
Sorry, I just have to hold you up there. Is your question related to climate, not to refugees?
No, it's related to refugees.
Right, sorry.
It's okay.
Okay, thank you. So starting with Adam, I'm just going to go this way.
Yeah.
And let's just try and keep one minute. Thank you.
Totally agree with you. We're already seeing climate refugees. People are already suffering. The climate emergency is here, and we need urgent action now. The Greens will act in line with what science demands. We'll stop Adani. We'll stop all new coal. We'll keep fossil fuels in the ground. We'll phase out thermal coal exports by 2030. We'll phase out existing coal-fired power stations by 2030. We'll reach 100% renewables by 2030. And this is ambitious, but it's what's required. It's urgent. It's what the science demands. If we don't start acting on climate now, you're right, we're going to have waves more of people being displaced, fleeing from floods, fleeing from rising sea levels. And if we want to talk about refugee policy, we do also have to acknowledge the climate emergency.
Okay.
Yeah, from United Australia Party, we wanted to make it very clear that this is a very important issue, refugee and asylum seekers, and we have a practical solution to this problem. That's what I told you, and I strongly believe that's the practical solution. People can fly in, get them assessed. If they are not found to be real asylum seekers, they will not be granted refugee status. They will fly back from where they come from. And
What, back to war?
sorry,
Back to war?
it's for you to think about that. Yeah, thank you.
So, Victorian Socialists wants to phase out all fossil fuels, coal and gas, and we also want to see an end to invasions of other countries, because things like the war in Iraq, the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan, not only do they create refugees, but they also exacerbate climate change to the max. But we don't agree with offshore processing as a way of trying to deter people coming directly to our borders. There are all sorts of reasons why people might come in different ways to Australia. Usually people don't get to choose which country they come to. It's usually totally accidental which country they end up coming to, whether it's Australia or US or New Zealand or parts of Asia or whatever. So we don't want to just see people shunted off to offshore processing in another country. I think there are good reasons why activists, human rights activists in Malaysia, oppose offshore processing there. And we need to allow refugees and asylum seekers to come directly to Australia if they want.
Thank you for your question. I'm going to stand up on this one because we've got twins sitting here. Yes, there is a climate emergency and there is a huge impact on people, particularly in the Pacific Island states, with respect to potential and current refugees or asylum seekers coming from those states because of the rising sea level. And that is a real threat, an existential threat to those people in those nation states. This government has cut $11 billion in foreign aid, $11 billion. We are going to restate funding to aid with a focus on climate change.
Coal mines was the
Because
question.
I'll get to that if you give me a moment.
You've had heaps of time, mate. You've had all night. Come on.
We are going to be committing, this government doesn't actually have any focus in our aid policy in the Pacific, either on gender, reproductive health, or climate change. We're going to put those themes back front and centre in our aid policy. We won't be able to restore the entire $11 billion, but Penny's been working with the NGO sector around how we can focus on climate change as an existential threat and how our aid and development assistance can help those communities. But of course, I'm sorry to stray into the climate change issue more directly, which is directly or indirectly relevant to the question. I came out and opposed the Adani mine back in 2017 publicly. I was very clear about that. Our own shadow climate minister, Mark Butler, has opposed Adani. And remember, it's not just Adani. There are 4 other projects, I think. One, Clive Palmer's got a mine there, and 2 Chinese projects, coal projects, in the Galilee Basin. Mark has also opposed all of those. They are big issues that need to be addressed. Now, there's a lot of misinformation about this. Tony Burke, who's the Shadow Environment Minister, has not come in, like I have, or my colleagues, or the Shadow Minister for Climate, in opposing it, for a reason. And the reason he hasn't done so is because under the Federal Environment Act, which, by the way, we are changing and committing to a better Federal Environment Act, he has to administer the law. If he was to come out now and oppose Adani, that would prejudge any decision he made about the environmental standards being breached by Adani. And I can tell you, the battery of lawyers that Adani have would challenge that in the High Court, and we get a counterproductive result. So Tony is abiding by the law, even though he's been attacked mercilessly of the politics of this. But he's fully aware of his responsibilities as a future Environment Minister and what he needs to do under the Act. Now, Melissa Price, who's the current Environment Minister, passed it under enormous duress. You saw, I know, Gail, I'm sorry, this is not about refugees, but I can talk to you offline about it as well, about the process around the environmental standards.
Thank you, Peter. So